future calls, press 9. This call will be recorded and subject to monitoring at any time. Thank you for using IC Solutions. You may begin speaking now.
Hello, Mr. Kurt Johnson.
Hi, Rudy. How are you today?
I'm doing good. It's always good to hear your voice, and it's such,
Yeah, well, we don't know how long it's going to last.
Right, I know, I completely understand that.
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to share a couple things with you and see if I can answer any more questions for you. But I'm learning a few things about my case already. And it's all ugly. You know, I mean, I think the FBI's already got a copy of my judgment, and still they want to charge me as though the judgment doesn't exist. That's kind of disturbing. And Ms. Hill's got a copy of the treaty that it's relied on, sent in by a senator, and she never delivered it and kept it to herself. So these are kind of troubling things, since she's one of the defendants, or one of the victims, supposedly. But this is the kind of place this is. It's kind of crazy.
Now, you say the FBI, can you say that again about what you learned about the FBI? I missed that.
Well, there's an agent called Stephen Jeske, and about 18 months ago, when Stephen Schreck was going home, they found some documents talking about these bankruptcies in his property, and so they kept him for 7 months past his release date and threatened us with criminal charges. But in the process of doing that, his family supposedly mailed a copy of the judgment to Agent Jeske, and no criminal charges were brought. But now that I've actually filed the bankruptcies out of the same office, you know, they investigate me, but they won't. You know, and in my indictment it says because the judgment doesn't exist. Well, having a copy of the judgment in your own records, that's exculpatory and undermines your entire indictment. Is a little bit malicious, if you ask me. Yeah, no doubt about it. You know, regarding Mr. Schreck, do you think he possibly could have been compromised? Do you have an opinion about him and whether his motives are... I think he's been,
yeah.
You know, according to him, he's been threatened and bullied and sent back to jail on violations regarding this stuff. So, yeah, I think he's been compromised.
Okay.
We see... you know, the only way I'm going to find out what's going on is, you know, through subpoenas and get the truth one way or the other.
How long do you expect that they'll hold you where you are now? Is it where exactly are you now? What's the proper place to refer to it?
It's called Marion County. It's about an hour and a half from Marion City.
Oh, I see.
Which
Okay.
is where the prison is. So, and I don't know. I mean, I could leave any minute. I don't, you know, when I left the prison, they were expecting back shortly. You know, they have packages that I have to bring back, I have to bring back with me. And I'm representing the defendant and need access to a law library, which this place doesn't have, so I can't stay here too long. Otherwise, I'm going to have to file a motion to get out of here, you know.
I got you. Okay. You realize that we did a video visitation for 9:30 tonight, so I don't know if you're around tonight. I did go ahead and schedule that, and you know, it looks like they allowed me to schedule it and pay for it and all that good stuff. So just be aware of that.
That's great.
Okay.
I think I have to put you on a visiting list on my side, so I'll take care of that.
Okay.
For that. So, just what town are you in Texas?
We're in Forney, Texas. It's just outside of Dallas, Texas.
Forney, F-O-R-N-Y?
F-O-R-N-E-Y. F-O-R-N-E-Y. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's all I have to really put on the form.
Okay.
Well, that's great. That would be kind of cool to see your face. I've never done that FaceTime stuff.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I put my wife down there too as one adult visitor, which they allowed me to do, and it looks like it's around 9 or 9:30 tonight. I forget the exact time, but they did allow me to schedule it, and they said that it went through. So
Central Time.
Yeah, Central Time. I'm talking Central Time. So.
Right. So it'll show up on the screen here and give me notice, and
okay.
I'll do what I got to do on my end.
You know, one of the things we're calling for is for an eradication or the total disbandment of the FBI within the United States of America, seeing what they have done with FBI informants and how they work in conjunction with the Department of Justice to railroad innocent people and withhold exculpatory evidence, outright destroy evidence. I mean, the fruits of the FBI, as far as I'm concerned, are just very, very wicked. And we're seeing, you know, destroyed families all over this country of people who spoke up. Yep.
You know, and it should have never been created, but that Herbert Hoover and all that, or J. Edgar Hoover, and that it was a whole corrupt foundation, and it was never going to get any better. And now it's just being revealed for what it was when it started. You know, thank God that Trump has got a voice, because they do this to people every day, what they did to him. You know,
right.
So, and are doing to him. So, and it's not 13,000 good people and a couple jokers at the top. It's bad. I mean, when in my original case, I had a $150 million letter of credit to back up all my bonds, and they raided my office, stole 30,000 documents, and using my copier and paper to do it. And then when they left, the only thing, which is the most exculpatory piece of evidence that was left behind, was the letter of credit taken out of the file, put back in the drawer upside down. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of people they are.
Yeah, I'm so glad you.
I couldn't get that evidence into trial.
Wow.
Which is, you know, the game they play.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad you said that, because so many people think it's just a few bad apples at the top, or, you know, just a few bad apples within the FBI. And I'm like, no, it's evil institutionalized. Their whole culture and the entire organization is bad. A few bad apples spoil the whole bunch, and the whole bunch has been spoiled. And so I believe they do need to dismantle and eradicate the FBI. Not only are they, you know, withholding exculpatory evidence, setting up innocent people, but you know, the way that they operate with the DOJ, and they demonize their targets in the media, and they have the Southern Poverty Law Center write these articles about their targets, call them domestic terrorists, anti-government extremists, things like that. It's terrible.
Right. You know, I mean, I'm not a big fan of these Muslim jihadists, but, you know, 20 of them in my unit are just setups and dupes for the FBI. And what happens is the headlines, these guys create cases, you know, to chase headlines. The headlines are, you know, that we're going to have a war on terror, and then if they don't start getting arrests because there's not any really activity, then they just create the activity. Mm-hmm. And you know, that's obvious from seeing what I've seen, that, you know, there's easily a half a dozen in my unit that, yeah, they're stupid, and yeah, they're ignorant based on their ideology and stuff like that, but they're not the dangerous life in prison kind of guys that the FBI makes them out to be, and the whole thing is drama. You know, it's a charade to make the public think that the FBI is potent, efficient, got integrity, and all that is just, that's a sham.
You know, Kurt, I got to say, I find that absolutely amazing that you have that take on this, because that's exactly the same conclusion we've arrived to. I'm no fan of the Islamic faith, or even, you know, Muslims, and I may have a very poor opinion of Muhammad and people who follow that religion, but for you to have gone through what you've gone through, and I'm sure that they've even, you know, you've been in some threatening situations, you know, or confrontational situations with the people, yet you still speak up and say that the FBI set them up, and that they're creating terror when there was none. That's a shocking, statement, and I've also came to that same conclusion. There's a book that was written called The Terror Factory, exposing the FBI's manufactured war on terrorism, and it's all about how the FBI does this exact thing. And the problem with the book is it focuses on the Muslim community, but they're also doing it in the Christian patriot community. They're doing it, you know, across the board, not just to the Muslims. And if we don't stop the FBI from doing it to the Muslims and across other religious faiths, then who's going to stand up for us, right? And I think it takes a Christian to say what you just said, because you stood up for another faith even though you don't believe in their God, and you said what the FBI is doing to them is wrong. And we've came to that same conclusion. You know, it's absolutely amazing. I wish more people would wake up to that.
Yeah, it's tragic. But, you know, that's what happens when morality, an objective morality from a God that is outside of our creation, is lost, and these relativistic good versus evil is just the yin yang, or spy versus spy in Mad Magazine. You know, the white guy thinks the black guy's evil, the black guy thinks the white guy's evil, and that's the only measure of justice. And so he who has the gun and the power seems to think that they have the right, and they don't.
Right. Yeah, it's a relativistic justice, and it becomes who's the most powerful and survival of the fittest type of thing, as opposed to using a biblical foundation for morality of what is right and what is wrong as defined by the Bible. But wow, Kurt, I got to tell you, the more I talk to you, I pray that the Lord works a mighty miracle to get you out of there, because we need you on the outside.
Yeah, there's plenty of scriptures though where God will set these people up in their own traps. I mean, I wrote the judge in my last case, that this is the curse of our nation, is that babies are running the institutions. I said, you guys are adolescent, don't know anything about truth or logic. I said, and that's the problem we have. Yeah. And that's really the truth. Yeah. I'm stuck with judges that are either conspirators or so presumptive that facts don't matter.
Yeah.
And the whole system's a joke.
Yeah, it is a joke.
It's never been supposed to be this way, and I don't know how to take it back, but I don't think that from a scriptural point of view that revolution is in the cards. But I do think that restoration and redemption is built into prophetic prophecy. So, if we all do our part and continue to pray, God will let these people hang themselves with their own traps or fall into their own pits, and they're getting exposed. And right now we're actually seeing exposure, which has been around the problem's been around for 50 years. So it's we're actually making progress. Yeah. Even though, I always say, I know I look like I'm getting my butt kicked, but I'm actually on my way to victory. So that's kind of how it is.
Well, you can tell a Christian by having the attitude that you have. One of the things I told my wife after we hung up is, after all that you've been through, and I can't even imagine the testimony and tribulations that you have encountered in this life, and yet you still sound so incredibly hopeful. You're encouraging. I mean, you sound confident in your walk with the Lord. But you're right about them entrapping them own selves. A lot of the prosecutors that we've seen come against other Christians have been found. They hung themselves in their own houses after they were caught and exposed for child pedophilia. Some of them have, drug problems and addiction problems, and they're these black robe prosecutors. We don't even call them judges. We call them black robe prosecutors because they just side with the prosecution so many times. They're being exposed for their own corruption. God is exposing and pulling back the cover so that we can see how evil they are.
Yeah, I met one guy that ran a porn site in the Netherlands, and he said one of his best customers was a federal judge spending $90,000 a year.
Wow.
These are not our righteous. They don't even know what righteousness is. I mean, in fact, if you really study our legal system, it's hocus pocus. It's witchcraft. It's a bunch of Latin incantations and fake oaths, and it's a lot like the Masonry and all that stuff. It doesn't have anything to do with criminal jurisprudence. And basically the criminals are running everything, and they're more dangerous to us than the real criminals that are out on the street. So.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Let me ask you this, because so many times people who have had your experience, we want to take advantage of what you've learned. But for those of us who have not been exposed or been brought into this tribunal of, what I call a satanic temple of death, when you go into these courthouses, I'm reminded of Matthew 10:19. But when they arrest you, do not worry about what to say or how to say it. At the time you will be given what to say by God. Is there any other advice that you can give that, for those of us who have not been what you've been through, on how to deal with this spiritually and maintain our sanity?
Well, remember that our fight is not against flesh and blood, and wicked men in high places is nothing new for the Christian.
1 minute remaining.
It's spelled out in the Bible, and it's been a problem for rebellious generations. So I'm confident that we have a God, first off, that's providential, and it says that the footsteps of the righteous are ordered of the Lord, and even if it's death, a martyr's life, it's still glorious, and we should never get discouraged, no matter what happens, because though it looks like a big tidal wave coming over us, God's in control, and he can fix it anytime he wants to. One angel can wipe out 185,000 army. So
amen.
We're never desperate.
Amen. All glory to God. I mean, after all you've been through, you're not a victim, and you do walk in the victory of Christ. Amazing, Kurt. Absolutely amazing.
Bless the Lord. It's His responsibility.
Amen.
And His glory.
Amen. Well,
I love you.
We love you too, Kurt. We hope to talk to you tonight, and God bless you. I know they're going to cut us off any second.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. God bless, and they just cut us off just now. All right, that was Kurt Johnson. We have 2.3 million people in prison across America, and he is one of the 80. That's right, 80 out of 2.3 million. He was exposing the housing and mortgage fraud in America.
Derivatives.
And when you get put in a CMU prison, and that's 80 out of 2.3 million, they must be terrified of the message that you can deliver. And you just heard from a strong Christian man who is surrounded by Muslims in his CMU prison. You know that he's under threat all the time, and very harsh conditions. And yet, I felt like I was sitting across the table at the breakfast table talking to a good friend. He did not give me any sort of idea that he was a victim, but yet you know that he's been through absolute hell. And so please keep Kurt Johnson in your prayers. I pray that you look up his address. Well, don't write him a letter just now, because I want it to get to him. And right now they've got him at Marion County Jail because they're trying to put more malicious prosecution charges on him to keep him in prison even longer. But eventually they may move him back to Marion CMU. And when they do that, we'll let you guys know. But I pray that you keep Kurt Johnson in your prayers. And we don't forget our brothers in bonds. And everything I've learned about Kurt Johnson, he is a strong brother in the Lord. He's also a very good friend to Schaefer Cox during the time that he spent at Marion Prison before they moved Schaefer Cox to Terre Haute, Indiana. Is there anything you want to say, Aaron, about...
Derivatives of derivatives is what he was exposing, the banking scam.
Derivatives of derivatives. He was exposing the banking scandals. And that's holy ground for the evil folks, because they don't want the American public to wake up and find out they have control of a fraudulent fiat fake money system that they use to manipulate human behavior on a massive scale. But enough of me talking. Please keep Kurt Johnson in your prayers. And wow, what a strong brother in the Lord that guy is.